Subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon to never miss any updates.
Hey everyone, this is Anujvohra, and today we have a guest Rajvi Agrawal on the show. And in this particular podcast, we are going to talk about India's startup ecosystem and what's the future of that. You must have seen many startups are becoming unicorns. So that means crossing over $1 billion of market value. So it's very essential to talk about India's startup ecosystem at this junction because it is being said that this decade will be like India's decade. So India's startups will make more and more money. There will be more startups in the list of unicorn, and there will be more startups will list in the stock market also. So let's talk about India's startups. And before we go ahead, I want Rajvi to introduce yourself. So we will begin the podcast.
Hello, Anuj, and hello, everyone. Thank you so very much, Anuj, for having me today. It's absolutely a delight on talking about my favorite topic about startup and how it is shaping the Indian ecosystem. And yes, with that, I'm introducing myself. I am Rajvi Agrawal, and I'm currently a second year student at SIBM Pune, pursuing MBA in marketing. In my part time, I like to write on LinkedIn. So all of you can follow me there for content on startup stories and business news and stuff like that. And apart this, I'm an engineer by my graduation.
Right.
And yeah, I'm looking forward to this session.
All right. So if you haven't, checked the Rajvi's profile, I will put a link of her profile in the description below. You must follow her because if you read her content, it's like really insightful and it's really short. And so you do not need to spend a lot of time to understand a single topic. So that's the magic of writing a really creative content.
Thank you so very much, Anuj, for that description.
So, if we begin the podcast, let's first talk about the game of valuations. Like startups are like valuing over $1 billion. We call it like a unicorn startup, right? But when it comes to I still remember the day when Zomato got listed. The valuation of Zomato was it was more than IRCTC and Britannia, which is like a massively profitable company. So what do you think that actually what is happening in the game? What's the game behind the valuation in startups?
It's a very logical and a very good question, Anuj, going forward. I would like to elaborate on this on certain points that we know it or not, or we believe in it or not, or to the extent that we believe, or the venture capitalists believe in the startup and the valuation, they are bound to increase.
Hmm.
There can, because the recent months have seen a fallout in the valuation of Paytm, of Nykaa, that they have lost massive amounts. But we also need to see that market goes into the correction phase,
Right.
and all of this won't matter in years from now.
Right.
Today, it seems unstable, but some 5 year, 10 years down the lane, these will be the stocks that would perhaps be listed for a blue chip company stock.
Right.
Because that is how evolution of the companies happen. Just put forward an example here, that the dot-com bubble crash
Right.
of the late 90s, many companies vanished.
Hmm.
And yes, valuation point is valid on regards like that. But we also need to see that companies like Amazon,
Hmm.
Qualcomm,
Hmm.
Cisco, they persisted in spite of that.
Right.
And those are the stocks that we look forward to now.
Right.
So, yes, the game of valuation is a tricky word because every person has his own, his own expectation with the kind of money they're expecting
Right.
for the future of companies to grow. So
Hmm.
India is currently the third largest ecosystem of startups in the world, only after USA and China.
Hmm.
And this trend is here to stay.
Hmm. Hmm.
So yes, I won't say that all the companies that are listed today, we will be seeing them tomorrow.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
That is the point, that 20-30% of companies today may not exist tomorrow.
Right.
But then if we see it in the long run, all of
Hmm.
it won't matter, because when we see the market goes into the correction phase
Hmm.
and then jumps back,
Hmm.
And the companies that, if we look forward, or if we look into great details with the kind of startups they are into e-commerce, they are
Right.
into SaaS, they are into health tech, they're into edu tech, and
Hmm.
all these are the categories of future. We
Right.
cannot imagine our future without this anyway. Crypto is tomorrow. So we want it or not, we like it or not, and irrespective of the perspective of people with regards to the
Hmm.
valuation, these are the terms of today and tomorrow.
Right, right. I agree with your point, but I would like to add one more point over here is that when it comes to like comparing like .com bubble and India's startup ecosystem, what is going on in today's India, that we can see a massive difference between the purchasing power of like .com bubble uh, in the like American purchasing power of Americans and purchasing power of Indians, right? India is a very price sensitive market. If you want to sell anything, it's very hard. That's why these companies have to run like a massive, discounts, and they have to burn cash to acquire a single customer. So based on that, I do believe that it would be extremely hard for companies to just shift their business from loss making to profitable, and then we can expect that how the companies will grow.
While your question and your point is absolutely valid, Anuj, but what happens is, like, there are multiple examples for different kind of scenarios. So yes, while company and any entity in business has the first agenda of satisfying its stakeholders,
Right.
and by stakeholders, it does not mean it's just the people in the board. It
Hmm.
also are the investors, it is the consumers, it is the
Hmm.
business, it is the government, every
Right.
stakeholder in the process. But now, when we say that company has to wait, so the market is very dynamic.
Hmm.
And in a scenario like that, one person or one business that is existing or at least has started cannot wait that it would reach a certain level only and then can, it would move ahead.
Right.
So in scenario like that, they will have to build up with whatever the situation is.
Hmm. 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 Hmm.
And I henceforth believe that, like, I just, if I don't know, like, I read about this terminology, blitzscaling.
Hmm.
So Reid Hoffman, he coined this term, and he said that an event of uncertainty, any business should choose speed over efficiency.
Okay.
And by that, he had exemplified it with examples of Google, Airbnb. That
Hmm.
when the startup is small and then it's just growing. So in a scenario like that, when you have to create a market for yourself, you have to
Hmm. Hmm.
create a niche for yourself that people use your product. So it's very essential that you grow at a tremendous speed.
Right.
That time you can go with compromising a bit on efficiency.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
And I think that is what the startups today are doing.
Right.
Because if we see the trend of the number of startups that have grown,
Hmm.
we had some startups initially. But if we see in 2021 alone, we had 46 new startups that were
Right.
registered in India. And just 2 months into this year, 2022, we already have 10. And this has raised the number of unicorns to
Right.
100 of India. And
Right.
that is a massive feat in itself.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So we also need to understand that this absolutely is a new opening for India, new era for
Right.
India.
And
And
and that,
henceforth, yeah.
yeah, please continue.
No, so henceforth, I believe that everything takes time, and
Yeah.
so does startup and the way its valuation will work.
Right. 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 So that could be the reason why investors all across the world prefer to heavily invest in India startups, right?
Absolutely.
Right. Venture capitalists like Sequoia Capital and bunch of other companies have been receiving a lot of funds all across the world, like all European countries, US, Canada. And once they receive, they just keep putting in different rounds of startups like Series A, Series B, Series C, Series D, and all, and based on that they acquire stacks, and when they find like it's right time to exit, they just prefer to exit. But as of now, I'm not saying any major venture capitalist I mean selling the stake, because it's like just a beginning,
Absolutely.
right? So another thing that I would like to talk about is like as we just said about profitability. So as of now, as far as I know, Nika and Byju's are the only profitable companies as far as I know. So what do you think about it? And do you see any other other major unicorn will become profitable soon?
Very rightful question. So, profitability, it's one of the major benchmarks of
Hmm,
how a startup is perceived, not just in the investor community, but to the people buying shares.
hmm,
So many times we say that, like, recent year, the last year has seen IPO launches of big startups,
right.
ranging from Nika to Paytm and all of those.
Hmm,
Now, one question that really comes to my mind with regards to the profitability terminology is that, as I had this in the previous argument that we shared,
right.
that in a situation of being profitable and like leveraging the market condition in
Hmm,
a dynamic basis, I think businesses are these days initially just trying to capture a niche market.
hmm, hmm,
While profitability should be their agenda, while profitability should be the top priority,
hmm,
but then again, the competition landscape with which this entire
hmm,
scenario is growing does not leave space for one business to wait till it becomes profitable for the other.
hmm,
Yes,
hmm,
I would not deny the fact that in a longer term, for a business to be sustainable
hmm,
and for it to have I would say for it to be workable for everyone, it
hmm.
needs to generate profit.
Right, right, right. So not every startup is like Reliance Jio, right? Reliance Jio
Absolutely.
became profitable in just 2 years, and it's
Yes.
like currently it's like quarterly profit of Jio is more than 6,000 crores. So it's like amazing.
Also, like putting in examples of, we if we see that if we had seen in 2010 to 2013 time, like
Hmm,
the time duration between that time when major startups like Zomato,
hmm,
Swiggy came in 2014, and delivery express b, all of this somewhere have their inception point in that time.
hmm,
So
hmm,
if we see the journey from there to today,
hmm.
we will find that initial years, obviously, they were not profitable.
Right.
They were building up their team, they were modifying the product, they were deploying it throughout the country, they were democratizing the product.
Hmm,
Lenskart, that is now becoming a homegrown brand that is now being used everywhere in
hmm,
homes with
hmm, hmm.
a good brand name.
After 12
If
years of launching.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So now you need to understand that it took it 12 years to reach that part.
Hmm,
And now we are that is becoming, and only when a product becomes used everywhere can it lead to profitability in numbers and operations and
hmm, hmm,
streamlining of operations and staffing and everything that goes behind the scenes.
okay. So
I
basically,
think it takes time to
okay.
reach that level of
Hmm.
profitability.
So as you told that in the initial days of startups, like you told about Zomato and Swiggy, for example, in their early days, their focus was on building a team and setting up the complete infrastructure so that they can run business, right? So their current priority is to get more and more customers, and therefore what they do is spend a heavy amount on marketing, right? So their infrastructure is all set. What they need to do is maintain its platform and take care of like delivery partners and all these areas, and taking care of restaurants also. So their current focus is to get more and more customers from tier 2 and tier 3 cities, because as far as I know, they have already captured a large market in tier 1 cities.
Yes.
Right. So that's what I believe regarding like food delivery startups.
So, adding to your point, Anuj, that it's not just the food delivery startup that is seeing tremendous growth from tier 2 and tier 3 cities, and
Hmm.
that for that matter, rural areas as well.
Hmm.
So, at the FMCG companies, if we shift our focus from startups to FMCGs,
Hmm.
so the entire year of 2020, 2020, of the pandemic, the prime year, that it had seen immense growth and immense demand from rural areas.
Okay.
With the proliferation of internet and with the number of users of internet growing and smartphone users, I guess the number of smartphone users is somewhere more than 750 million people,
Yep.
and majority of them resides in the rural areas.
Right. Right. Right.
So initially, the infrastructure, the network that was not available to them is now available to them on the tip of their fingers.
Hmm.
So not just tier 2 and tier 3 cities, but entire rural areas is seeing a great potential for e-commerce, and they are now seen as the major growth areas of growing business for
Okay.
e-commerce and food delivery, as you rightfully mentioned.
Okay.
And
So
yes, therefore I feel that the proliferation of internet and mobile device
hmm.
has a lot of has is to be said of one of the major reasons for this change.
Yeah, exactly. Without internet, like everything is nothing, right? Because every business runs on the base of internet.
I agree.
So as you told about like e-commerce, I would like to talk about a little different point than startup. What do you think about like the e-commerce fight between Amazon, Flipkart, and Reliance, like in retail? Because see, I watched many videos that is telling that if Amazon is offering 1 day delivery, Reliance will offer 2 hours delivery because they have 12,000 stores across like 600 cities. So what do you think about it?
So if in a few words, if I have to sum it up, it would be that no matter who fights with whom, or how terrible this competition goes,
Right.
obviously in a positive sense, the customer would be in the benefiting part.
Right.
Like customer would be beneficiary for all the things happening.
Hmm.
To just to exemplate it on a different line, the
Hmm.
10-minute delivery, the quick commerce.
Right.
It has seen a massive competitions from all the players. Like Zepto set the ball rolling, I would say.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
Zepto happened, and then Swiggy's Instamart happened, and now Zomato is backing Grofers, Blinkit in the same space,
Hmm.
and then Big Basket backed by Tata comes.
Hmm.
So what happens is now all of them are like we're giving you 10-minute delivery or 15-minute delivery. Everyone has time since then. But now you see that Flipkart came that we will start operating in quick commerce,
Hmm.
but we will be delivering within 45 minutes.
Okay.
They did not create a difference basis the time.
Right. Right. Right.
So, I feel that yes, time was one of the major differentiating point when you had to create a USP about your business.
Hmm.
Now, since there are many players, it now shortens down to, the quality of how you're supplying your products.
Hmm. Hmm.
Many times what happens with, like, obviously this is not the answer to your question directly, but my point to say is that what happens with dark stores, you have these SKUs.
Hmm.
So you have a limited number of SKUs that you operate, and therefore you're able to deliver it within a fixed amount of time.
Hmm.
But now just imagine to a person who needs many ingredients.
Hmm.
But that is not available given the SKU with which the dark store operate.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So then the time is not the differentiating factor that is there.
Okay. Yeah.
Then the customer's need becomes the differentiating part. And
Hmm.
hence then Flipkart would give an edge to that customer because
Right.
that Flipkart would be delivering him all the ingredients he would be needing.
Right.
That too within 45 minutes. So
Interesting.
I think like it is my point of view. I really am open to a lot of feedback on this.
Right.
But I would feel what I really feel is that since your question about Zomato, Flipkart, and Reliance entering the picture, how it would change for people. I would say that every business has some unique, strategies
Hmm.
for through which it acquires customer.
Right.
And everyone, Flipkart and Amazon and Reliance Jio with investments from big people all over, has this edge about how business happens.
Right.
All of them have their renowned brands
Hmm.
and a good customer base to cater to.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So if we just purely go that this time Big Billion Days has recorded a tremendous sale, it has surpassed Amazon.
Right. Yeah.
So in a situation like this, if we see, if we backstab to some years, Amazon had the first movers advantage
Regarding what?
regarding the Indian scenario, and then Flipkart happened.
Okay.
So in spite of that, Flipkart overpowered it,
Hmm. Hmm.
and
Hmm.
now they're in a parallel ways of handling
Right.
each other's business.
Right.
So
Right.
I guess that no matter how they change the techniques,
Hmm.
the customer would be the one to get benefited from all of this, maybe through instant deliveries
Right.
or through easy returns or
More discounts.
more discount, absolutely. But I guess this is how it would change the shape of how business also happens in the smaller cities across India.
Right, right, right. And the thing that we need to understand that Amazon already has huge funds, like it's a massively profitable company. Walmart, Flipkart is backed by Walmart, so Flipkart can also have access to unlimited amount of money to spend on like acquiring customers, spending on marketing. And we also know that Reliance Retail, which is like a subsidiary company of Reliance Industry, is also massively profitable. So there is no need to worry about spending money on marketing and acquiring customers. So it's definitely, I agree with your point that customers will benefit the most in this e-commerce war.
Absolutely, 100% agreed on this.
Yep. So if we talk about like EdTech, like education technological startups, like we have seen two companies growing rapidly, Byju's and Unacademy. So as far as I know, Byju's is profitable and Unacademy is still not profitable. But Byju's have been seeing lot of controversies, like acquiring lots of startups and killing its competition. What do you think about it?
So I would say that Byju's is going digital in its approach.
Hmm.
A couple of weeks back, or last week only, I guess, there was this news that Byju's has started its physical tuition centers. I
Oh,
guess,
seriously?
yeah.
Okay.
So Byju's is going digital in its approach, and one thing that really works in India is that no matter how much, if you see with Lenskart also, so a company in India that is just that purely operates in the online scenario doesn't works really well with India.
Mm-hmm.
So for Indian consumers, a phygital approach is the way forward.
Mm-hmm.
And henceforth, you would see Lenskart stores
Right.
now operating in India also.
Mm.
So I feel that one, yes, not straightly answer and coming to your point, but getting there in a while,
Mm.
that Byju's has started operating in a phygital approach.
Mm.
Now, what the thing is, what I really feel about the edtech sector is there is still a great demand of
Absolutely.
quality education,
Right.
and there are multiple startups doing amazing work in this regard.
Mm.
So Byju's was again the front mover, I would say, the I would say the
Pioneer.
first advantage, the pioneer in the field, exactly. Then an academy happened, and I wrote a piece on this also about lead school. So
Mm-hmm.
everyone is operating in their own particular category. Now with Baiju, the thing is, after massive acquisitions
Mm.
of these startups, it has obviously it has tried to reduce the competition it is in,
Hmm.
and in a manner it also is helping the 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 base it has created of students,
Hmm.
the
Right.
data it would be generating.
Hmm.
And yes, like again, how that data is handled remains to be seen of, bigger question of how that data is handled. But I see that the more the number of people are there in one particular system,
Hmm.
and if you see like the major acquisitions of Byju's, you would see that it is in different categories.
Hmm.
Like it has acquired Akash. So it was Akash was a pioneer, major pioneer in the MBBS category, MBBS coaching
MBBS
market.
and JEE, I guess.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Now that was one part. The other part it has acquired it has acquired businesses that are providing education just on tablet forms. So the tablet education is one acquisition of Byju's. So
Okay.
in a way, it is one particular step of bettering its business.
Hmm. Are they going to integrate everything, or it's like they will keep everything separate?
So that remains to be seen of how Byju's, because Byju's is becoming this behemoth, I would say, in
Yeah.
the edtech sector. And
Hmm.
if things work like this, so I don't know, and I cannot even start imagining if of how it would unfold for everyone.
Hmm.
Because children's education is like the primary thing that everyone is concerned with.
Right, right, right.
So of the Byju's case absolutely is it's that's absolutely, right now we cannot say of how it would plan out
Right, right.
in the bigger sense. Because yes, Byju's after its major acquisition in different areas is trying to better its services and become the Amazon of edtech, I would say.
Right, right. But I would like to add one more point is that no matter what we say about Byju's, the business is like following unethical practices with its employees, customers, and whatnot, acquiring lots of companies and killing competitions and all. But based on the business model, I do believe that parents of India don't compromise on spending money on kids education, right? They are,
That is
even if the Byju's keep increasing price and offer quality education, there is no need to worry for Byju's, because parents will keep spending money on quality education if they continue to provide that.
that is true. But again, then we need to see that, the kind of uh, see, not every parent can afford that
Right,
amount of fees,
right,
and that the parents who can are still a very limited chunk of the
Mhm.
entire population of people who cannot,
Right, right.
or of the entire population of children education. So
Mm-hmm.
that is one major challenge. If you see, like, coming to this topic only, the knowledge gap has increased tremendously in the last 2 years
Yep,
due
exactly.
to pandemic.
Right.
The people who could not afford these online tablets and laptops,
Mm,
they have left education.
right.
Or now, a recent survey that happened before, last year, it said that the students of class fifth were not able to solve sum of a grade two student,
Mm-hmm.
and that is no matter what education platform comes, that is a harsh reality.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is the future of they are the future of tomorrow,
Right.
and your base education decides of how you progress ahead in your life.
Mm,
So Byju's the model works for the people with good amount of money,
right.
but for people with limited money, or the ones who cannot afford, I think more work needs to be done in that scenario.
Mm-hmm. Right, right. Agree with your point. But another thing that I would like to discuss is what do you think about Ola Electric? Is it going to be like, have you seen the the vehicle around yourself, around your place or something like that?
No, actually not. I had just seen its ad
Okay, yeah.
advertisement.
Actually, because the company is, spreading so much hype. we are going to make a world's most popular electric two-wheeler and all. But if you see the deadlines of delivering the scooter is being like delaying, the company is delaying with the customers, so customers are unhappy with this scenario. But when it comes to like Ola as a group, uh, do you think that it will sustain in the future? Because I'm saying that when it comes to only ride hailing, Ola will compete with Uber. But when it comes to electric vehicle and all these areas, I don't think that it will outperform, as we have huge players like TVS, Bajaj, Hero, like Honda, most probably Hero. So what do you think about it? Because it's hard to capture in automobile sector, right?
Your point is absolutely very valid, and thank you so very much. It was one of the most awaited other point I was willing to talk about. So when you see with Ola, it started as a ride hailing,
Right.
and it's absolutely, see, no one and no business can be sure. Even the likes of the biggest players there are, they cannot be sure that tomorrow something will work or not.
Mm.
So now with Ola, this particular move of going into the electrical vehicle business, can turn out in both a good manner or a bad manner.
Okay.
And for me, I personally believe it would be in the better manner only.
Okay.
Why I would put across my points, because one, that Bhavish Kumar with Ola Electric,
Right.
uh, he had made a market for electrical vehicle,
Interesting.
because major part of it is that Ola Electric is going directly to consumers. If you
Interesting.
see the model now, you will realize that the majority of its communication is happening through social media.
Okay.
They are following foot of what Elon Musk did for Tesla.
Seriously.
Yes, you can read it on an article. There are articles on this.
Okay.
So uh, with Ola, it is happening that they are going directly to consumers. And
Mm.
yes, when going directly to consumers, either you should not promise, or you should have a tentative deadline. But again, that is how they are moving it for the first time. They're doing it for the first time in the automotive market.
Mm.
So hence the challenges. So everything when happens for the first time presents with numerous challenges. But
Mm.
then that is how things change in future also, na?
Right.
So electrical going directly to consumers is in itself a big feat.
Mm-hmm.
So now the communication is directly through social media. Their marketing expenses is very limited in comparison to the big houses of Bajaj or Hero, as you said.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, given that it is a new venture of Ola, so everyone is excited for that new product of how it would turn out.
Mm-hmm.
And given the big promises around how the vehicle would be, it remains to be seen of how up to the mark those promises are.
Okay.
So I think that yes, there will be other market players existing, but Ola will be able to create a market for itself,
Okay.
for
Okay.
the youth enthusiastic people. And also live with Ola Dash. If you see the diversification of Ola group apart from ride hailing.
Mm-hmm.
So recent years, if you see, post pandemic has seen a lot of movement towards personalized vehicle than a sharing vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
So in a situation like that, diversification of business was one particular step that could go in a really good direction for the Ola group, for Bhavish Agrawal, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Ola Dash, as you say, that it is like launched for the third time
Okay.
in the quick delivery mode.
Okay.
It was launched that it failed, and it didn't happen. So third time, they say third or fourth time is the lucky charm. So this is the third or fourth time for Ola Dash, venturing into this 10-minute delivery space. So
Oh.
even that is altogether a new category that Ola has made for itself. And then again, it remains to be seen of how happens. Only time will tell. like how
Okay.
it pans out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, from Ola, that if you talk about like Oyo, do you see that because of the pandemic, the industry, all hotel industry, the complete hotel industry got like a massive losses, and what's the impact on Oyo, like because I was reading articles when it was the initial days of pandemic that SoftBank, which is a major investor in Oyo, is also worried about its investment. So actually I do believe that in the future Ola will like skyrocket because there is a massive demand in India. If they don't even diversify and focus only on India, there is a huge potential because we have a population of 1.3 billion, right?
I agree to your fact that that yes, future differences needs to be made in terms of Oyo can start operating in shared home category space,
Mm,
not just the hotel part. Now there is demand. There
mm,
is no denying about it, and the use of shared spaces is only going to increase
mm.
because many companies have made remote work culture as the norms.
Right,
So
it's
when there is
like permanently remote,
yeah,
permanent work from
yeah. So in a situation of remote work culture, many people try to have work vacations or workation, as they say. Now,
home.
vacation requires a room for
Right.
you with all the facilities. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that the requirement is there and it only will increase in coming time.
Mm-hmm.
So despite the hard water that Oyo rooms is facing right now, it is there to stay.
Mm-hmm.
If you see the turnaround of how Airbnb turned around its business.
Mm.
Back in 2020, it was facing problems, the cash shortage and
Right.
the problems of taking money, like post pandemic, just after April, May of 2020, the
Mm-hmm.
first wave. So everyone it had stayed or had a booking with Airbnb, they demanded the money back.
Right.
And that time Airbnb went ahead with giving those people their money back. So it
Interesting.
is also about the trust you build with your people. I
Mm-hmm.
see.
All right. All
And that it itself calls for a major, deal breaker of a business.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
Agree.
in spite of yes, there are speculations of how it would turn around,
Yeah.
given the good management practices and things that are online.
Mm-hmm.
It remains to be seen, but the trend is there to stay.
Right. Right. Now, let's have an a hypothetical scenario where all the startups focus to scale slowly, and their target is to focus on the top 10 cities of India, because if I believe that if they focus on top 10 cities, huge population, very high per capita income, I would say, that means very high purchasing power of customers, and if they go in this way, like they first focus on top 10 cities and then they focus on tier 2, tier 3 and the rural area, what do you think that is it like the path that if a startup follows, the startup can be profitable while scaling?
I would agree on that, citing my reasons that if you see that the inception of many startups happens in Bangalore,
Hmm.
in Delhi, in Mumbai, in Hyderabad, in Kolkata, and all of these are one for one metro cities, the
Right.
big cities.
Hmm.
So also there is a convention or perhaps a kind of a sense in people from tier 3 cities that a product that is popular
Hmm.
in the top tier 1 city
Yeah.
has gained enough popularity for it to be used in tier 2 and tier 3 cities.
Agree
So
100%.
that is a kind of notion that really works around this way. That a product, if it's popular in Mumbai,
Hmm.
so I'll try it. At least I'll try. I'll give it a try.
Mm-hmm.
But now, if you say that, okay, a city from tier 4 has used one particular product, I may or I may not use it.
Right. Hmm.
So, I personally feel that the approach of startups, building it in the top 10 cities and then moving ahead,
Hmm.
is the way forward of how you can, turn around your business. Well, then also means to say that the trend is now shifting.
Okay.
So, if you see in the direct to consumer category,
Hmm.
they don't operate just in one particular geographical area.
Okay.
They
Yeah.
cater to consumers throughout the country,
Hmm.
be it a very small business.
Right.
So, that again is a change that is being noticed how things are happening.
Right.
But for major part, if you see cred,
Hmm.
if you see, Zomato also had its inception in Bangalore.
Hmm.
Zomato, Swiggy,
Right.
all for that matter. So
Hmm.
if you see the trend, notice it carefully. They started with the big cities and then eventually democratized it,
Right. Right. Right.
moved it ahead.
And
But
you
yeah,
said
that
about,
also is a change.
okay,
Yeah.
and you said about D2C, right?
Hmm.
One of the major example that we can take, like Boat and Mama Earth.
Hmm.
Like all the youth, it knows about these both companies because of the Shark Tank, right? So Shark Tank also is helpful for both the companies to build
Absolutely.
brand of.
Also, to add just one more point here, that we all are currently living in digital world,
Right.
and digital world has blurred the boundaries
Hmm.
in terms of the physical geographic areas.
Hmm. Hmm.
So a business, I understand, and I firmly believe in this, that a really amazing business idea can come up with a person from a tier 4 city.
Right.
It is more about the idea,
Hmm.
the outlook, and the greater vision of business
Yeah, absolutely.
rather than one particular cities. Yes, for it to start, for it to progress, you need to have a systematic approach of how you would take that ahead.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
But after all that is said, a business can, come from anywhere and any place.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. 100% agree with your point. Uh,
Adding to that point, Jugadu Kamlesh, if you see.
yep,
So
I've
that
seen that.
is, the example behind it, that genius ideas
Yeah,
can come from any part of
yeah,
the
it's
world.
like a revolutionary and helpful product for farmers, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So if we talk about this decade, like by the end of this decade, which startups do you believe that will become profitable by the end of this decade? You can just predict. There is no, you don't need to give an in-depth detailed answer regarding that, because I believe that in next 8 years a lot of geopolitical changes that we can see, and because of that we can see financial crisis, like stock market crashes, and all this stuff. So uncertainties will be there in this decade. So
So yeah. So if I have to name a few, there would be Nika for one.
okay.
The other would be Ola,
Okay.
Oyo,
Right.
Cred.
Seriously.
I think, and
Okay.
why so I would say you, because the credit card spend is here to stay,
Yep, I agree.
and this trend is only increasing
Okay, but
because now you see there are multiple players in the category for targeting that. There is this startup called FamPay. They only target not just with the credit card but the card system for the teenagers.
yep, I have heard that.
Now, if you see that this is building a habit,
Right.
the card usage is building a habit.
To pay your
But
credit card bills using cred, right? It is like
uh
building a habit of paying bills using cred.
yes, and then getting rewarded in return. So again, I don't know how it would pan out, but I think that it would be no above the water in near future. Like obviously, it would sail through the tough times.
Hmm. Right, right. What do you think about
And
like fintech startups like Bharat Pay, Paytm, and all?
um, I think that they are also there to stay. Like for example, PayU,
Okay,
the interface that is there to stay because the digital payment ecosystem is growing like anything.
right.
And the per second transaction of India has surpassed all its previous records.
But there is also a
So,
catch, right? What if customer starts using heavily UPI? There is no
hmm,
need to, customers don't need to charge. Uh, I mean, according to me, as far as I know, there is no charge on UPI, right?
hmm, hmm.
So how will they make money while the customers make transaction? That can be a problem, right?
So for that, you also need to understand the kind of model, the business model they operate in,
Okay.
and it then heavily depends on the data that they are generating and gathering from all of this.
Mm-hmm.
So that is at major play here and the major catch here. So again, coming and circling back to your questions, what about fintech startups? I think that the digital payments are here to stay,
Of course.
and with that, how many of them will survive? But yes, I have a good feeling about Paytm, PhonePe,
Hmm.
Bharat Pay for all of them to
Hmm.
go ahead. Again, this is in clear regards of how good they conduct their business and what are the business practices in near future. And
It's
the other categories, if I'm really like rock solid about is health tech,
okay.
that of
Can you
pristine
explain? Can you
healthcare.
tell me about the like companies in health tech?
Yeah, so there is this pristine care.
Okay.
It became a unicorn last year.
Okay.
Then there are brands like 1mg
Okay. Yeah.
acquired by Tata.
Right.
So
Right.
now the ball game is more about it's not the startups that are competing with the other startups.
Hmm.
They are the big conglomerates that are jumping in.
Right.
Tata is betting on all of these through its super app Tata New.
Right.
Reliance has invested in all these startups
Yeah.
from health
Reliance and
tech.
Tata is everywhere.
So in every market you see there are players around.
Hmm.
So that calls for a healthy competition,
Hmm.
and then again of how the business changes, citing to the geopolitical, social, cultural conditions of India and the world.
Right. Right. So finally, is there anything that you want to ask me?
So yeah, like my particular question to you would be that the startup ecosystem is growing, and obviously the kind of employment it is generating.
Hmm.
But then how can the youth from every part of the country can
Hmm.
leverage from it?
Okay. Like for an, are you talking about like employment perspective?
From every point of view, like cred is there, but cred is then for people who have credit cards.
Right.
But how can then cred be be utilized for a person who does not own one from the remotest part of a village? So what would your take on that be?
Yeah, that's a really interesting topic. But when it comes to fintech startups, like as you said about cred and
It was just an example. You could
yeah, yeah,
explain two other examples also.
yeah, I got it. But the awareness matters the most, as far as I know, and it is growing with really good speed, I must say, in India, because that is the reason we can say that startups have been raising a lot of funds. Because if the customers are not aware about the products and services which are available in your country, right, for example, India, they why would investors invest the money, right? As we discussed, there are more than 750 million internet users in India. That is one of the primary reasons we can say that we are saying billions of dollars of funding in startups. But as you take about, as you are telling about, like how would youth can connect and take advantage of startups and all. I would suggest that that is a massively popular employment industry is growing, which is like computer science has been remain one of the most demanded skill, like coding and networking and all. uh, People are the when it comes to financial crisis, in recent articles I was reading in CNBC, it was clearly mentioned that in the financial crisis the first priority of retaining employees would be data scientists, computer engineers, like coders and all. And the first one who will be fired are like marketing managers and in finance department. So this is how we can understand how you know how important computer skills is now these days, especially in the world of startups, right? Because everything runs using an app. So and I've seen many people who just focus on learning coding from very young age. And that's what, it's a rapidly changing industry, but still people jump into the industry to make more and more money.
Absolutely. Well agreed with you, Anuj, on this.
Yep, that's what I believe. And what do you think about it? Like, are you seeing around yourself this kind of trend?
I would highly agree on this. Like how the startups have changed the face of how people perceive technology.
Right, right.
Like just to give you a simple example, that my parents did not bother much with the internet technology before it.
Mm-hmm.
But after coming of Paytm and PhonePe,
Hmm.
they've started making online payments, which was
Okay.
not possible before. So
Mm-hmm.
that I say is a healthy difference
Right.
that has come up. And
Hmm.
not just for me, there are a million other stories like this.
Right, right, right.
And that is one step towards, as you said, awareness of
Mhm.
product.
Right.
And with that, one particular awareness about how this technology is helping change the face of the world. It is saving hours of time on go for going. Suppose, we used to go initially pay electricity bill to the
Mm.
electricity board.
Right, right.
That used to consume a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
But after these technologies and these startups came, it is just on the tip of finger that a bill is paid.
Right. And
It's,
the
it
number of
has saved
online
you.
payments are also like soaring.
Absolutely. So it is not just about the click of a button or the accessibility, but it also is about the hours, the number of millions of hours it has saved for
Right.
all these people around the world.
Right, right, right. And
So
and it is so important. It may look like a really small thing, like it saves time, but if we talk about like big cities where people have to stay in queue for more than 2 hours, 3 hours, where there is a huge population, it's very essential that these technologies are extremely helpful for them.
absolutely. It is also about the convenience that you are
Yep.
providing along with value building.
Yep, yep. Agree, agree. So thank you so much for being on the show, Rajvi. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so very much, Anuj, for having me. And it was absolutely delightful to have this conversation with you. And I sincerely apologize for any kind of, things or words mispronunciations that I have had
No, no,
in
no
the,
issues with that.
duration end. Yeah.
No, no, no issues with that. So we'll definitely consider having you on the another topic. We will talk more about marketing and startup related things in the next podcast too, based on your availability.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It would be great.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
look forward to that.
Yeah, for sure.